back here. So, what's up, man?
Hey,
How you
how's it
doing?
going? Jimmy.
We just want to kind of get your story of like how did you get into photography, and then like.
Oh, I don't know if you want that story.
Let's just start with your name, what you do, and where you're from.
Okay, name is Mike Mezeul II, and originally from Rome, New York. So,
Second?
yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow, that's
Junior.
Yeah.
No one ever calls me Junior, thank God, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No. So from there, but lived in Texas most of my life.
How did photography come into the mix?
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh God. All right. How much time you get on this?
As long as you want.
So when I was 15, long story short, my birthday came and went, and my parents didn't really say much for my birthday until I said something later that evening about what we were doing for dinner. And my mom's face was like, oh my God, it's his birthday. And so she was like, oh, happy birthday. And she left. And she went to her room, and about 15 minutes later, my parents came out with this black leather bag. And, when you're 15, down here you can get your permit then. So you may start expecting, driver's license, a car, And so they came out with this leather bag, and I was like, that's not a car. And so they gave it to me, and I opened it up, and it was a 1975 Yashica MG1 camera. And I was like, what is this? I had no interest in photography. Didn't even know anything about it, really. And so my dad explained, hey, this is the camera that I had when I was in the Air Force, and I never really learned how to use it, so maybe you can. And right there, it lit like a little fire under me, because my dad and I are very competitive, in a good way. And so I was like, well, if he doesn't know how to work it, I'm gonna figure out how to work it.
Yeah.
And so I started learning it, and it was film, so I would literally go out and I had no idea what the camera did or what any of the settings were. So I'd literally go out and just have a notepad, and I'd write down 1 through 24 and 1 through 36, and the scene and the settings that I had, and I would go shoot very manly things like ladybugs and flowers and stuff, because I didn't have a car, because I had a camera instead. And I'd go across the street to this river that we have and go shoot over there. I would write down everything, and then I would mow lawns to get my money to go get it developed, and I got it developed at a very prestigious drugstore down the corner, so very high quality film. And when they developed it and gave it back to me, I'd literally go back and say, okay, hey, frame 1, it's too bright, so I need to attempt to do this different. And I learned that way, and I'm completely self-taught. I've never taken a class in my life on photography or anything like that. And so I just kind of got the ball rolling with that, and then eventually, gosh, it's a few years later, maybe 5-6 years later, digital started rolling out, and I was too poor to afford digital, so I shot film, but eventually it became this weird transition where I became too poor to shoot film, so I had to shoot digital. And so I went and got I had actually another Nikon N70 camera that I shot with a film camera, and then when the first, I think it was the Nikon D60 came out, or D80, and that's when I went to digital. And kept shooting, and then when I was 21, a former teacher bought an image for me, $10. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. $10, I can go fill up my car now. That's awesome. And kept shooting just for fun. Nothing really crazy. And then the city of Allen, which is the city I live in now, in my car, but the city that we're in right now, a girl I went to elementary school with called me up one day, and she's like, hey, you do photography, right? And this is what she saw my photography through MySpace, and yeah, what? And I was like, yeah, I do photography, yeah, what's up? And she's like, hey, we need somebody to come out here and shoot an Easter egg hunt, for the city. And I'm like, never. I've always shot just landscapes, never shot people before. And she's like, can you do it? We'll pay you. And I was like, sure. You had me at pay. And she's like, how much would you charge for 2 hours? And I was like, $50. And she's like, $50? I was like, 25? She goes, how about 250? I'm like, sold, high bidder, you win. So I went and shot it. Felt like a total creeper shooting little kids, going around finding Easter eggs and stuff like that. Gave them the images, and about 3 weeks later, I hadn't heard a thing back. And at that point I was like, I screwed up an Easter egg hunt. This is not for me. I should not be doing photography. They called back about 3 months later. Said, hey, can you come cover this event? So I slowly built up some reputation with them, and then eventually I took over as the city photographer for them. So now I do all the advertising marketing work for the city of Allen. And from there, it just opened other doors through other cities, and then people started seeing that I did landscape photography on the side, and they were like, hey, can you teach me? And that's where I started doing lessons, and then built up to not only doing local lessons here, but teaching in Norway and Iceland, Canada, all around the world now. And so it really just kind of took one door to open, and multiple doors opened after that. And
How did the idea of like giving workshops come live? Where did that come from?
A lot of people just started asking, like, hey, I want to learn photography. I was like, okay, well, I can teach you how to shoot an Easter egg hunt. What do you want to learn? And they're like, well, we see shots of the Milky Way. We want to learn that. And so I did, it was 7 years ago, I did my first workshop. And it was out in Fort Griffin, which is about 4 hours west of here. And I had 10 students. And I remember I was nervous as anything, man. Because I was like, oh my God, all these 10 people are looking at me now to teach them how to shoot the Milky Way. Do I really know what I'm doing? I remember I was just sitting there and it was cloudy for like the first few hours, and I'm like, here I am teaching Milky Way class, and all we have is clouds. But it worked out real well. The clouds cleared out, and then they told their friends told their friends, and it just, workshops for 2018 now, almost a year in advance or 3/4 of the way sold out.
Yeah.
So they sell out about a year in advance now, so it's pretty cool to see how it all came from one little class.
Yeah.
So.
And how long do you think it took to make photography a career that you could just live off of that and not have to?
7 years right now. It's been a little while. Yeah. The first year I did it, I remember eating seriously ramen noodles for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And there were times where I couldn't pay my bills and my electric or my cable would get shut off and stuff like that. Because the key with photography is no one's going to hire you without a portfolio, and no one's going to hire you to build a portfolio. So you have to do work for free. And so that first year I probably did 30 to 40 grand worth of work for free because I had to build up that portfolio. But that portfolio allowed me to then shoot, I shot all 4 major sports teams in Dallas, all NHL, and NBA, MLB, and NFL. And shot them. I got hired to go shoot concerts and bands, and then got hired to do assignments for magazines and stuff like that. So that first year it took a while to build up, and then progressively through that you start getting more comfortable with the amount of money you're making, and eventually get to a point where you say, okay, I can live off this. It's not easy. It's a grind, that's for sure. So the first year was the hardest, but after that, 4 or 5 years into it still, you're thinking, okay, I've got a master's degree. I can go get a job in advertising and make double what I'm earning right now. But am I truly happy? No. I'm going to be stuck in a cubicle. And I want to be out here in the mountains. I want to be teaching. So, you have to be okay with sacrificing things too, to get to a point where you are comfortable. Right now, I'm comfortable and I'm happy, and I say, yes, I do this for a living now. And I don't ever consider myself having made it, because I think if you get to that point, you get comfortable, and that's your immediate downfall. But I'm comfortable. So I've got a bed in the back of my car. I'm solid.
Tell me a little bit about that. What is it like to pitch your work to people? What's some of the stuff you've learned?
It's nerve-wracking, man, because it's your pride and joy. All your work is getting ready to be presented to somebody who can either give you an opportunity or tear you apart. And I had, in 2011, I think it was, I had the opportunity to go to the Eddie Adams workshop in New York. And it's a huge honor to be able to go, because only 100 people worldwide get invited, and that's it. And so you're looking, at somebody across from you at your table who has been documenting the, HIV epidemic in Africa, and you've got somebody over here who, documented, something crazy going on in China, and I'm like, I shot tornadoes, and it was pretty crazy to say, hey, I'm part of this group of 100. So I went up there though, and I got to meet with Jimmy Colton, who was at that time one of the biggest editors at Sports Illustrated. And so I had my portfolio put together, and it was 20 images, I believe, and all professional sports I've shot. And I kind of went in there confident and maybe a little bit cocky, thinking, okay, I feel really good about this, And here I'm. This guy's been working for Sports Illustrated for how many years, and he's seen Super Bowls and Olympics, and here I'm like, oh, here's the Dallas Stars, So I handed him my iPad over, and he tore apart every image. I mean, he gave it to me straight, and said some things I won't say on camera, but just made me want to decide between three options: punch him in the face and run, go drink heavily, or just throw my camera and do all the above as well. And so I gave him and he's a super nice guy, awesome man, and he was testing me. And so at the end of our critique session, he gave my iPad back over and just kind of looked at me, and I was just like, I don't know what to say to you, because I really want to just scream at the moment. And he's looked at me and goes, okay. And I was like, I really have no clue what to say to you, dude. And then I was just like, wait a second. And I asked him, I was like, okay, well, I appreciate your review, but what should I do to better these images and to get to a point where I can have something published in the magazine? And he goes, that's the question you need to ask me. And went back through and he reviewed a ton of images, and eventually got to the shot that I shot a rodeo, and he asked me if I had access to the catwalk, and so I was like, yeah, and he's like, do you get to shoot this again? I was like, yeah, actually next month. So I went and I shot it differently the way he suggested, and then after I sent it to him, he said, okay, send it to me in these pixels and whatnot, and he's going to put it on the leading off page for Sports Illustrated Online. So it was really cool, because you need that constructive criticism from people that you're sending your images off to, because that's how you grow. And if they're going to look at your image and just say, that's great, we'll contact you if you're interested, did you really walk away learning anything? No, they're literally just being nice. In this situation, I grew from it. And although it wasn't an immediate, like when I sat down with him saying, yeah, we want to publish this, it led to something down in the future. So, presenting your stuff to publications and all that, whether you get something published or not, as long as you get a response, it's so beneficial. So.
And you've worked obviously with everyone. In my opinion, you've gone up and down. But I think this is pretty important. Like if you want to be known as the nature photographer,
yeah.
Like, is there a certain kind of photography that you want to be known for, or do you want to be more general? Like, do you want to shoot sports?
I mean, the photography industry has changed so much in the past 5 years, let alone 15 years, and I think the days of really being known as this person's a fantastic portrait photographer and they're going to be famous for it, or look at Joe McNally. He's for Nikon portraits and all that stuff. He is known for that, but I think he established himself way back before the industry got saturated. And same with Ansel Adams. So now it's like, to really be known, if you were to go up to a portrait photographer and say, hey, do you know who Ansel Adams is? Yeah, they're going to say yeah, because back then he established himself. But now it's really hard to say, hey, I'm going to be known just for landscape, because there are so many landscape photographers out there that are damn good. So I think I'd rather be known as a good photographer that can shoot anything. Like, if you give me any subject matter, I can make something happen with it.
But on the flip side, do you think there was a subject matter that got you really good at what you do?
Landscape. Yeah, I think landscape photography, having some images go viral, stuff like that, really sparked my career and opened a lot of doors. So I don't think it was all my baby photos that I did. So I think that landscape got that going. So got the career going.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How do you delineate between growth and personal taste? Where do you see that line being drawn?
I always go with with what I enjoy and what means something to me. Because my whole thing is, if I ever pick up that camera and I say I have to go to work, I need to find something else to do. I've lost my passion. You know, if I pick up that camera and I'm excited to go shoot something, then I'm gonna do something great with it. So there's demands and stuff like that, and if you look on Instagram now, it's like put a person and a photograph in an epic location, and it's gonna do well. Great.
You know it.
Yeah.
People.
Yeah. Or if you have a good-looking woman along with you on a trip, throw her in a bikini and have her walk down the road.
That's my experience here.
Yeah, there you go. You'll never know from the backside. But yeah, I mean, look at that. You can literally take a good-looking woman, put her in the middle of West Texas, walking down a road, and you'll get 5,000-6,000 likes on it. Because you know why? Because guys like looking at girls' butts on Instagram. Is that what's going to define you as a photographer? Is somebody going to go, hey, Mike Mezeul, I love his butt shots of these girls walking down the highway. Some people might, but that's not what I want to be known for. So I'd rather grow through my genuine work, what I enjoy doing, rather than saying, okay, well, Instagram wants this.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's to your earlier point. You said being the guy for portraits or whatever isn't really tenable anymore. But isn't there a certain tendency for people to carve out a certain niche and to be identifiable as something that does a bit better in all of these kind of communities?
Yeah, and so I mean, it's very hard to wear all hats in the photography industry. So I think there's two different ways to look at it. You can look at it as, okay, this person's going to be famous in the photography world because they shoot epic portraits. But then, and that's a very, very small number of photographers. But then look at this person over here who is just doing the typical high school senior portraits.
Yeah.
Are they famous? No. Are they good at it? Maybe. Are they making it by? Probably very, very minimally. Look at this person here who does workshops, that does portraits, that does sports, that does music. All this, are they making it by? Are they surviving? Yeah. Because they're wearing multiple hats and they're good at it all. When I first started my Instagram, I would go and I'd put a landscape photo up or a storm photo or something like that, and it would get 1,000 likes. And then I'd go put a photo up of shooting Lincoln Park, 30 likes. It's a very narrow subject matter. Even with music, it's you could put up a shot of, hey, I got to go photograph Elton John, this super famous musician who's been through all these generations, and then you can go and say, okay, well, I'm going to go put this girl in a bikini on the street. And then which one's going to do better? What do people want to see?
How do you make sure people know that you do those other things if your outward-facing appearance is only this one?
So Instagram and my Facebook fan page is all landscape, pretty things, and then I'll occasionally get people ask me, hey, do you shoot weddings and stuff like that on the side? Or occasionally I've got I don't know, it's 40-something thousand followers on Instagram now, so I'll every now and then I'll drop in there and say, hey, by the way, here's a romantic portrait. I also shoot weddings if you're looking for your a wedding photographer. And so it's not filling up my Instagram feed crazy with wedding photos, but somebody may read that and be like, oh my gosh, this guy who shoots all these landscapes, he shoots weddings too. Okay, well, let me find out more. And that's when I direct them to my webpage that has all my multiple portfolios. So that's
that makes sense.
you can't have a music shot, a sports shot, an aerial, and then
That's what I've begun to notice about mine, because I'm interested in so many different things, and I want to capture them all and share them with everybody, and that just for better or for worse just doesn't
it kind of hurts because
it
you want to
does.
share it. You want to be like, hey, listen, I know I just shot this awesome scene with this lava, but really, check out this macro of the spider I did. And people are like, that's cool, bro. Can you post what you were posting before? Because I'm gonna leave if you don't.
The painful part is I notice my own tendencies when I'm shooting is to photograph stuff that I know I can put on an Instagram page and okay, this is gonna do well, but there's this other thing happening over there that I really want to shoot, but I have to prioritize in this weird fucked up way.
You have to prioritize, but you also can't forget where you started and what you truly love. I love shooting landscapes and all that stuff. I really, really do. But I also love shooting storms. And sometimes I'll say, well, you know what? I'm going to miss out on this storm to go shoot this landscape over here. And then I see all my buddies' pictures from the storms. I'm like, damn it. Should have gone there. There's 17 tornadoes and a unicorn. I missed it. You know, but you know, you gotta do what you love still.
Right.
So if you get too focused, it's a balance. You have to focus on what is going to monetize for you and get you out there. But you also can't forget where your passion is. And if you tie both those together, fantastic. You know, I've been really blessed with landscape. I like shooting landscapes, and landscapes have helped me make an income. If I tried to survive off of my landscape work alone, I would literally be sleeping in the back of my car every night. Like, you know, that's, you know, I have to be able to shoot other things on the side to you know, help with my income.
What's been your favorite project that you've done so far?
Oh man, it's probably all the nudes I did, self-portrait nudes. No, just kidding. I had a really cool opportunity. It actually fell through, which was kind of a bummer, but gosh, it was several years ago. So I was photographing the Harlem Globetrotters, and they had 3 astronauts from NASA there. They were going to be on the last space shuttle launch, and they wanted to get their pictures with the Harlem Globetrotters, but they didn't want it on an iPhone because it was like iPhone 1, you know. And so this one from NASA sees me and she sees my credentials. She's like, "Hey, you have a camera with me? Can I see it for just a second?" And I was like, "Sure." And she's like, "My name's so-and-so from NASA. This is what's going on. Can you take a picture of these guys and then just invoice me for whatever it's gonna cost for this photo, so they have it?" I'm like, I'm not even gonna invoice you. I'll just help you out. And she's like, no, just invoice me. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll invoice you. Didn't even talk a price. So I take this picture. Later that evening, I send it to her. She's like, okay, thank you so much. You're a lifesaver. Send me an invoice whenever. And so I was like, wait a second. You're NASA. Like, I don't want your money. Like, the last space shuttle launch is coming up. Can you get me access to photograph that from the media deck? That's my invoice. And she's like, oh yeah, absolutely. And so I had credentials and access to go shoot the last space shuttle launch. And my parents surprised my brother and I with a trip to the Bahamas on the same date. Yep. So guess where I was for the last space shuttle launch? I was sitting on the beach in the Bahamas, which usually doesn't sound half bad. I was so mad. I was just like, this is the last launch ever, and I could have been there shooting it and witnessing it.
That just hurt me a little.
Yeah, it sucks. So
You can't even really complain about that.
no, you can't. You're like, thanks, Mom and Dad, for screwing me, but let's go to the beach, you know, like. So.
That is torture.
Did you tell them?
Oh yeah, yeah. They're like, oh, we booked it, everything. We're sorry. It's like, I really want to punch a baby right now. Like, so I mean, that's.
By the way, we're starting the interview with that.
Okay, perfect.
I have sort of like a two-pronged question.
Okay.
What's like one thing in terms of like getting better at photography, like it's a lesson you just have to learn the hard way?
Yeah.
And what's something that you wish someone had just told you so you could have saved yourself like a shitload of hardship?
Go into a better career. No. Something you have to learn the hard way is that it's hard work. I mean, it's straight up hard work. You know, people think, oh, let me just go buy an expensive camera and turn this picture into black and white and call me a photographer. You know, it doesn't work like that. You know, and you know, you got to bust your ass every single day. Like, I mean, Saturday, right? Yeah. I don't even know what day it is because I don't have weekends. I mean, I'm working every single day, whether it's on the back end editing or doing website stuff or out there actually shooting. You know, doing workshops is a lot of work because you have to get permits, you have to get insurance, you have to be CPR, AED, first aid trained. Some of the parks, Glacier National Parks, are requiring you be bear aware trained, so you have to take a special class for that.
And you're like a one-man team too, so you have all the
Yeah.
all the coordination with the students and the clients and everything.
Yep, everything. I mean, everything from the you know, accounting part of it all the way to the booking lodging, to airfare, stuff like that. I mean, it's a lot of work. So you have to bust your ass, and if you don't, you have to think that this industry is so saturated that there's somebody right on your ass busting theirs even harder, and is going to take that job from you, or is going to take that client from you. So literally, I don't have weekends. Everybody always jokes around like, oh, you're self-employed, you have your own, you know, you're your own boss. I'm like, yeah. And I have to work 10 times harder than you because you go into work and you can sit there and text all day long at your computer and you're still going to get a paycheck at the end of the week. If I, you know, pardon my French, if I dick around, you know, I'm not making money and I'm losing money. So, and something that I wish somebody would tell me, don't have your parents book a trip to the Bahamas. Don't judge a book by its cover. I've met so many cool people in however many years now it's been that have opened doors for me. There's one guy that I was at Macy's, I think it was, with one of my ex-girlfriends, and as guys, girls go shopping, we're like, we just sit there and twiddle our thumbs and go, okay, well, now what? Until they're done trying on the clothes. So she was trying on her clothes, and I sat down next to this guy who, just all due offense, if you ever see this, no offense, but you needed deodorant that day. He just did not smell too hot. And so let's just call him Bob for now. So he gets talking, he goes, what do you do? And I was like, thinking, what do you do while you're waiting? And I was like, I have no idea, man. He goes, no, what do you do for a living? And I was like, that's a very random start to the conversation. And I was like, oh, I'm a struggling photographer. He goes, oh, what kind of photography? I was like, everything, man. I shoot everything from people to concerts to sports. And he goes, oh, what kind of sports? I was like, NFL, NBA, NHL, NBA, MLB. And he goes, what about NFL? Have you shot any Cowboys games or anything like that? And I was like, no. To be honest, I've never even watched an NFL game. I know nothing about football except they shoot 3-pointers. And he started laughing. And he goes, do you ever have any interest in that? I was like, I'll never say no. And I'm like, okay, there's something up with this guy. He's asking a lot of questions about football. And so we got chit-chatting a little bit longer, and then my girlfriend came out, and we were leaving, and he goes, hey, I didn't even grab your name. And I was like, oh, Mike. He introduced himself, and he goes, here's my card. Call me if you want to shoot a game. And he was the staff photographer for the Dallas Cowboys for the past 20-something years. And if you went to the arena, like all the photographs up on the top level, I believe, were his or something like that. And so, like 2 weeks later, I was shooting the Redskins vs. Cowboys game.
That's amazing.
So, like, don't judge a book by its cover, and talk to anybody you can, because you don't know what key to what door they hold.
Earlier you mentioned that you really appreciate and strive for realism in your images. When did you realize that? Why do you think that might be?
I think with social media becoming so popular now, and you have all these different sites, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, 500px, and you start seeing a lot of photographs from around the world, and photography's art, so there's no right or wrong to it. You can sit there and you can be like, I'm gonna turn this hue slider on the sky orange and call it art and photography. Cool. Who am I to say that's not photography? But I started realizing that a lot of people really made images out of nothing. And they started painting in light and started cloning things out, enlarging mountains, stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, I would be pissed if I saw somebody's image and said, I'm gonna go there, and I get there and it doesn't look like that.
Yeah, that's happened to us a couple times, for sure.
Yeah, it's happened to me before too. And I'm just like, you can't, I want what I see to be portrayed in my images. And if it's not, I will say, hey, this is a composite, or this is not what you truly see. I shoot the Northern Lights a ton, and people ask me, is that what it really looks like? And most of the time I'm like, no, because your camera sees light a lot better than your eye does. But there was a storm that happened in Banff in May this year. It looked exactly like what the images looked like. Yeah. So I'm like, this is really what it looked like to the naked eye.
Really good too.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're talking earlier, the shot with the Milky Way, meteor, moon, and lava, that's exactly what was there, and that's exactly what I saw. No, I did not take lava and put it in with this Milky Way shot. This is all true to form.
Yeah.
And I try to shoot as much realistic imagery as I can, because publications like National Geographic or BBC, stuff like that, they have a very high code of ethics. So National Geographic, if you move the sun down anywhere, or you move the moon, or you crop out this or stamp out that, they have no interest, because that's not the real moment. So that's why I still shoot, even though I shoot digital, I still shoot like it's film, and I think everything through, and I think I wait for that opportune moment. If the light's not right, I don't shoot it. There's times where I've gone to epic locations and it didn't meet what I wanted, and I sat there and I watched it, and I never pulled the camera out of the bag.
Yeah.
So I know what I want now, so I'm going to make sure that it's really there. People are, I think, especially with social media, people are too zoned in, I guess you want to say, or too worried about making a life that isn't real,
Yeah.
rather than saying, hey, this is real life. Not every place I go to has this epic sunset. Not every place I go to is, like it is in the image. And I'm going to show it like that. Too many people are out there framing it to make it look exactly the way it is. Then
Yeah, they're just misleading people.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
Out there, and then it's like, oh well, nature isn't what I thought it was. This isn't for me after all. And that's like the opposite of what happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like, look at these places go to the pyramids in Egypt, and it looks like it's in the middle of the desert, but actually it's surrounded by
There's
the whole city, and there's a Pizza Hut right next to it. So it's like,
Really?
yeah, like make it what it is.
Exactly. Yeah, that's honestly like something I've noticed about like going to a bunch of national parks is that like Old Faithful, like it's this guys who are out in the wilderness, and it's like, no, I think the more interesting shots are like the people watching it from like these park benches and like the visitor center right
next door to it,
and,
yeah.
like the concrete walkway around it. I'm
Yep.
like, 'cause that's what it literally is. So let's show that,
Yep.
It's like it's still interesting. Like it's still
It's still beautiful.
Yeah, exactly.
But don't give a false impression.
right.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, what a way to wrap.
that work?